Okay, well, welcome everyone tonight to the Fallbrook Climate Action Team presentation for the month. And for those of you who don't know, FCAT, Fallbrook Climate Action Team, is a group of citizen volunteers concerned about climate change. And we bring a presentation to you on the last Tuesday of every month on various topics, just from a broad range, anything that impacts the environment, climate change, anything to that nature. So we are excited for tonight to have someone from Earthjustice, and we'll get to that in a minute. But before that, for next month, we have, and Tom, do you want to put up the flyer?
Okay, I'm going to share the screen for a moment.
Okay, we have Frank McCone.
Hello.
Hi.
That's the flyer. It's going to be March 30th, last Tuesday of March. And Frank is here with us. Go ahead, Frank.
Hi, how you doing? We're going to just discuss where the wind energy for people, these are for the people of California, not utilities. We're going to discuss where it was back in the old days and where it's going in the future.
Great.
Very good. Thanks, Frank. And so that will be next month, which is March 30th. So I'm looking forward, Frank, to having you speak. And then tonight, we are really excited to have Sarah Gerson. Did I pronounce your last name correctly? It is Gerson.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, excellent. Of Earthjustice. And for those of you who haven't heard of Earthjustice, I've actually been donating to them for years. It's a national organization. And Sarah, I'll let you do an introduction yourself and talk more about the organization. But if you look at the top 10 organizations that are concerned with environmental causes, national organizations, Earthjustice is definitely up there with all of them. So really big, great organization because the earth needs a good lawyer. That's their slogan. And so really looking forward to have Sarah speak. What we are going to do is put everyone on mute just so we can keep background noise down. And then the best way to do this is if and when you have a question, go ahead and put it in the chat function. And to get to the chat function, just scroll down to the bottom of your screen and you'll see an icon down there called chat. Click on that, a little side box will open up and you can put a comment in there. So just type your question in there and then we'll hold it to the end. So once Sarah's done, then we'll go back through and catch all of the questions. But that way, as it pops in your mind, you don't have to remember it and you can just type it down in the chat function. Okay? So with that, let me turn it over to Sarah. Sarah is a clean energy staff attorney. Hopefully I got that correct. And she's based out of Los Angeles. And Sarah, let me turn it over to you for an introduction yourself and then for your presentation. We're looking forward to it.
Great. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to be here. That was a fantastic introduction. And what I've charted out for today is to spend a few minutes telling you about myself, Earthjustice generally, and then to dig into the niche that I work on within the broad universe of everything Earthjustice does, which is clean energy advocacy at public utilities commissions. And I want to tell you broadly why this work is important, and then go into two examples of public utilities commissions cases that I've worked on recently that affect Southern California. So, Earthjustice. The slogan kind of says it all. We're here because the earth needs a good lawyer. And we have a lot of good lawyers. We have 14 offices all across the country with attorneys working on almost every pressing environmental issue that can be addressed through legal action. So endangered species protections, protecting wildlands, getting the most toxic pesticides off the market, you name it. For a few specific examples of stuff that our organization has had victories on recently, we represent the Standing Rock Sioux tribe in challenging federal permits for constructing the Dakota Access Pipeline through the water that provides the tribe's drinking water. Over the course of the past 4 years, many of my colleagues have been very busy challenging Trump's rollbacks of environmental rules. Had a great track record on that. About 80% of the cases that have had decisions have been decided in our favor. And within the past week or so, you might have seen in the news locally some information about a settlement that we reached on behalf of community-based clients with Phillips 66, whose oil refineries had been leaking pollution into the neighboring communities. The company wasn't following the laws requiring detecting and fixing those leaks. So we sued on behalf of a community organization and just settled that case, which should put in place better fence line monitoring and commitments to fix leaks so that there's less pollution spilling into the neighborhood community and causing health impacts. But even if you've heard about our cases in the news, you might not have necessarily seen Earthjustice's name because we are in court representing other environmental groups and community groups. We provide legal firepower to the environmental movement at no cost to our clients, so that even groups who can't afford lawyers will have their day in court. So hopefully that gives you a sense of the broad range of legal needs for environmental lawyers. I devote my time to representing groups before public utilities commissions, which are the state agencies that are responsible for regulating corporate utilities. Earthjustice is about to celebrate its 50th birthday, and it's only been in the past couple of decades that we and the environmental movement more generally have started getting active at public utilities commissions. But it's an important space to be in, and one where there's recently been a lot more investment across the board, because these agencies decide whether the money that you pay on your utility bills every month will go to clean energy or fossil fuels. And their decisions also shape how easy it will be for you to make your own investments in solutions like rooftop solar and electric vehicles. So I feel like I've been speaking a lot in 3,000 foot overview of the goals that we're trying to accomplish advancing clean energy. But to really make it specific, I have 2 specific cases that I would like to tell you about. And I picked them not only because they're both cases that affect Southern California, but also because they kind of illustrate the opportunities to both fight the bad on the one hand and also promote the good on the other. So first, fighting the bad. I spent a lot of the last year working on a case before the California Public Utilities Commission, fighting to get the commission to hold SoCalGas accountable for misusing customer money to undermine strong energy efficiency standards. Now, it's important to remember that energy efficiency may not get as much love in the press as wind and solar, But dramatically ramping up energy efficiency is an essential part of any pathway to meeting our climate goals, because it's one of the few decarbonization tools that actually saves people money. And the Commission is fully aware of the potential for energy efficiency to deliver both economic benefits to customers and to reduce pollution. And that's why the Commission created a specific program in which the utilities can use customer money to advocate for stronger energy efficiency standards, and even collect a bonus for their shareholders for their work on that advocacy. But even with the potential to get a shareholder incentive, the movement to a more efficient economy is a huge threat to SoCalGas's corporate interests. Because the higher efficiency standards go, the harder it is for gas appliances to compete with electric appliances. And the company is desperate to stop the transition to electric appliances that it knows needs to happen if California is going to meet its climate goals. So it's no secret that SoCalGas uses its shareholder money to advocate against climate action. But still, it was truly scandalous in 2017 when the internal watchdog at the Public Utilities Commission uncovered the fact that SoCalGas was using money from this energy efficiency program that the Commission had specifically set up to advance cleaner, better energy efficiency standards, and using that money for the opposite purpose, to fight energy efficiency standards. The first instance that we're aware of where SoCalGas did this was back in 2014, when the California Energy Commission was considering a new rule for water heating in new homes. The agency, the California plan was to set efficiency standards based on what you can achieve with a tankless gas water heater. And SoCalGas saw the transition from storage tank gas water heaters to instantaneous tankless water heaters in new homes as such a big threat to their revenue that the company's senior management team was briefed on the plans to obstruct the rule, got the buy-in, had senior management asking for talking points so they could help with the effort. And that's just one example. In the following years, SoCalGas kept using repair funds to fight other efficiency proposals at the federal and local levels. This pattern of misbehavior first came to light in 2017. In 2019, the Commission finally started a process to investigate this misconduct. And that's when we had the chance to intervene on behalf of Sierra Club. And we helped bring to light even more information and misbehavior within SoCalGas's energy efficiency team than what the internal watchdog had already uncovered. And then in briefs, we laid out the full story for the Commission and urged stiff penalties, over $255 million, in fact, because a slap on the wrist just simply won't be enough to deter SoCalGas from doing this type of thing again. And right now, the status is that we're waiting for a proposed decision from the Commission. And we don't know when that will happen, but when we do, it will be very helpful for folks like you in the community to let your voices be heard and tell the Commission to do the right thing. If it's a proposed decision that would give SoCalGas a serious fine, then we'll be looking to urge adoption of that. there's also always the risk that despite the fact that we and the ratepayer advocates within the commission were united on the need for us to fine, the commission might not show a willingness to do that in the proposed decision, and then we'll need folks out there saying that this is really important. So that's my first case. The second example that I have teed up to talk to you is the flip side, when the commission has the opportunity to support movement in the right direction. And this is a case about supporting electric vehicle charging that centers around a program San Diego Gas and Electric first proposed to the commission in 2018 to invest $100 million approximately in infrastructure to support electric trucks and buses. The electrification of medium and heavy duty vehicles is an issue that our office has been really focused on, because these vehicles are responsible for an enormous portion of California's air pollution, particularly in communities that bear the brunt of pollution from the freight industry. And one of the key things we can do to speed up that transition to zero emission vehicles is for utilities to cover some of the costs of the charging infrastructure for electric trucks and buses. So we were thrilled to see San Diego Gas and Electric propose this large investment at the commission and intervened on behalf of 2 environmental justice groups to support the need for an ample budget for that work. And we helped build the record in that case by entering expert testimony on the public health imperative for cutting pollution from medium and heavy duty vehicles. And we also successfully sought some modifications to what the company had originally proposed. So when San Diego Gas and Electric first came to the commission, they said, you know, we want to spend a bunch of money, and we aspire that 30% of it will be in disadvantaged communities. And we're like, that's not really good enough. Let's make it a mandate and a firm commitment that you need to spend 30% of these investments in disadvantaged communities. And the commission agreed with that. So this ultimately, the commission approved a 5-year program just a year and a half ago. It takes a while to get these things off the ground. Hopefully soon you will start to see the fruits of this. Hopefully you will see more electric trucks and buses on the road. And when you do, there's a good chance that this commission approved infrastructure program is helping them fuel up at the end of the day. So that's what I prepared to chat with you about. I want to leave a bunch of time for Q&A. I don't know if any questions waiting for me in the chat.
Don't be bashful.
I'll ask a question. So were you guys involved in the climate action plan of San Diego County that the Sierra Club and others took to court?
I don't believe so. We might have sued San Diego for a transit plan before my time.
Okay.
I've been at Earthjustice for about 6 years now. So I guess what I'll say is not in the past 6 years.
Okay. All right.
Am I muted?
You're good.
Okay. I've got questions about how the work proceeds. Like, are these cases that you've had, are they been mostly on paper? Do you have any court proceedings? What level of of um, touchiness is there going back and forth and just and how do you get involved in the first? It's a very long question. How do you get involved? Are you always because somebody contacts you and asks you to get involved, or I'll just leave it at that.
Let's see. Okay, I guess I'll start at the beginning of how we get involved in the first place. It's developing a new case is can happen in a few different ways. Most often, it will either be because we are keeping track of what's happening in the space and there's a new proceeding that we know we need to be involved in. It's a little bit more reactive than in a lot of litigation where you can just, if you notice something illegal out in the world, you can go, like the example of my colleague who sued Phillips 66 for the leaking equipment in the refineries. They saw that the refinery was breaking the law. They sued them. For us, it's often very reactive because there's a proceeding that happens on its own, either because a utility files a application to do something like, hey, we're San Diego Gas and Electric. We want to have a new $100 million electric vehicle plan for trucks and buses. And we'll have to dive into that. Or the commission will start the rulemaking and we'll have to dive into that. And so it's often about diving into the opportunities as they come along and spotting them with the help of our clients or ourselves. That's how we spot cases usually. Once the cases get moving, they are mostly on the papers. There's not a lot of court appearances. There are cases that often operate kind of like a mini trial where the commission needs to build an evidentiary record to have the basis of a decision. But one thing that's unusual about our mini trial for building that evidentiary record is that most of the testimony is done on paper. So instead of showing up in court and asking questions, we submit testimony that is 50 pages of questions and answers. And we only show up in hearings to cross-examine our opponents about what they put in their testimony. And you have to conduct discovery often to build the record and get the crucial facts in front of the decision makers so they can do the right thing. And so, for instance, in this SoCal gas case where we were trying to document all of the efforts to undermine energy efficiency rules, one of the big early fights in the case was whether or not SoCal Gas would comply with our request in discovery for their communications with their industry association contacts at the American Gas Association about their advocacy on these rules. And at first they were like, no, there's no way we're giving that to you. We had to go to the commission, file a motion, get the commission to intervene and say like, no, actually, we're going to force you to hand over these emails. And that allowed us to show the commission in a lot more detail the company's thought process as it engaged in these in these rulemakings and tried to obstruct agencies from adopting energy efficiency rules. Like, and sometimes it was pretty colorful. Like there was one where someone from a trade association was like, hey, SoCalGas, why did you sign on with all of these electric utilities to support a stronger energy efficiency rule that the DOE was considering? And the energy efficiency staffer wrote back to be like, oh, I didn't read it thoroughly enough. My bad. Stuff like that. I could go on. I spent a lot of time reading SoCalGas's emails. But yeah, you go through like, and this is typical for what lawyers do for a living, to swim through huge amounts of information, cull out the bits you need to tell the story of what's going on, and then present it to the commission, usually through testimony.
What you're talking about with this Southern California SoCalGas, I heard a national story within the last 48 hours on National Public Radio on exactly this subject of gas companies going out of their way to subvert decisions by the states and municipalities to, convert to all electric, and going so far as even to hire young influencers to talk about. Oh, you're nodding your head. What can you tell me about that? I was curious about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is a nationwide story. SoCalGas is definitely part of the movement. One of the emails I read was SoCalGas emailing the director of this industry front group that they had established called Californians for Balanced Energy Solutions, and saying, hey, you should really think about running a preemption bill like the one that just passed in Arizona. Of course, SoCalGas is only here in California, so it's the American Gas Association that serves as the clearinghouse for supporting utility efforts in every state they can to try to pass these preemption bills that would prevent municipalities from mandating stronger energy efficiency standards that would move towards more electric appliances in particularly new buildings. And I mean, the ironic thing is that when it's convenient, you hear lots of talk from SoCalGas about the need for local control and choice, but here it is less convenient for them. So they want to preempt local action and stop cities from being able to clean up their buildings.
They're being pretty sneaky.
Yeah, there are a lot of stories in the press right now about gas industry tactics that I think are very salacious. There is another one in Mother Jones, maybe about 2 weeks ago, that I'd also highly recommend, because that journalist did a great job of showing the history of astroturfing, where gas industry folks hire operatives who kind of pretend to be representing community members. And there was an example from right here with SoCalGas where Culver City was considering a REACH code, a local ordinance that would set efficiency standards higher than the minimum bar set by the state. And SoCalGas hires this PR company to try to fight it for them. The PR company goes on Nextdoor and it's like, hey, I just heard that Culver City was considering this ordinance. When I first heard about it, I thought that was too crazy to be true. But actually, it turns out that like we need all of you to show up at the Culver City Council meeting and try to stop them. And And yeah, just a huge pattern of astroturfing across the board that is playing out here and lots of other places.
You mentioned you have a newsletter. Does it,
Oh, so I don't remember mentioning a newsletter. If you give me another hint.
it's a question in chat.
Oh,
It says, your newsletter is awesome.
oh, yes. Okay, so I bet if I went to earthjustice.org, I could figure out how to sign up for it.
Okay, we'll figure that out and
Yeah.
everybody.
If
I
if
get
you
it. It's
donate,
great.
I know if you donate, which we do, you get it automatically. And it is good because it goes through nationwide, all of the cases, the legal cases that are happening and going on. It's really informative. And it just lends credibility to the work the organization does.
Okay.
Another
Well,
question.
hydrogen fueling station. Oh, sorry. I don't know who to answer first.
Well, go ahead. That's one of the ones I was working from the chat.
Okay. I don't know about I would okay. So I don't know what the plans are for the hydrogen fueling network. I would be surprised if it's hard to say because if the government decides to support hydrogen fueling stations everywhere, the government can get what it pays for. But from what I've seen, electric vehicles are going to be the long-term technology that provides the solution to decarbonizing light-duty vehicles. So hydrogen fueling stations are probably a lot more likely to pop up where they might be needed to serve like long-haul trucks, but maybe not so much to serve folks who just need sedans.
Somebody's referring to the William O. Douglas about trees not having legal standing.
I don't know if I'm going to have a great answer to this one either, but the conservative jurists have been very successful in recent years in restricting access to the courts through standing doctrine. So standing is something that's on a lot of minds at Earthjustice. It doesn't come into play in my practice very often because the commissions where I happen to practice happen to have very liberal approaches to letting people intervene and become parties to commission proceedings. But unfortunately, we are very far from a world where trees have standing. And it creates, this is probably a question that half the folks on the chat don't even know what standing is. Standing is the ability of a plaintiff to bring a lawsuit in court. There are situations where, regardless of whether or not you can prove that a federal agency has violated an environmental law, you might not be able to do a thing about it if you cannot prove that you have the right to standing, which you can only show if you can show that you, or for a group like Sierra Club with members, one of your members has had a particularized injury as a result of that illegal action. So if there's an illegal action that's going to hurt an endangered species, if you can show that the harm to that endangered species somehow personally affects you, you can't get into court to sue about it. And that's hopefully a sufficient answer to that question.
There's a real good book out called The Understory. It's all about trees. And it leads up to that very question. But it's really it's deeper.
Okay, green hydrogen. This is something that I do have a lot of thoughts on. Okay, here's the deal with green hydrogen. The gas industry loves to talk about green hydrogen because if you don't look too closely at the propaganda, they will try to portray green hydrogen as an excuse for them to continue business as usual, maintain all of their pipelines as is, and even keep expanding the gas pipeline network. That would be a huge mistake for our climate, because there's only so much you can do with green hydrogen, which doesn't currently exist and will need a couple more decades to scale up and have further technological developments in the process that converts renewable electricity into hydrogen. But even after a couple of decades, after you invest tons of money into developing a clean hydrogen resource, you can only put so much hydrogen in the gas pipeline network before you cause huge degradation problems. So the current estimates I've read are that you can only have 7% of energy in a gas pipeline from hydrogen. That leaves 93%. What are you going to do with that? There are some sources of biomethane, not nearly enough to cover 93% of the gas we use today. It's more like in the range of 10%. So green hydrogen could be, hopefully will be, a very important tool for decarbonizing some sectors, such as aviation, shipping, who knows? But it will not be a solution that provides an excuse to keep the existing gas pipeline network in place. What we need to do is take advantage of all of the cost-effective solutions we have available today. We don't need to wait decades for green hydrogen. Today, we can use heat pumps to heat our homes. We can use induction stoves to cook our food. We can use heat pumps to heat our water, all with clean electricity that's only getting cleaner. Okay, so SoCalGas does have some efficiency program that can help you move from one gas appliance to a more efficient gas appliance. But what you ideally want to do is be moving off of gas entirely towards efficient electric appliances. You know, after the life cycle on that new appliances runs out. Is Earthjustice involved with the? No. I would know if we were involved in San Onofre.
What's the, oh, I was just gonna say, what's the question?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'll read the questions out loud. Oh, I see someone put in the chat the name of the Mother Jones article I referenced. Yes, that's it. How the fossil fuel industry convinced Americans to love gas stoves. That's a good one. Harriet asks, I went from an ordinary electric hot water heater to a heat pump water heater, and I got the subsidy from SoCalGas. Are heat pump clothes dryers ready for prime time? I couldn't find one that had good reviews. I don't know the answer to that. I'm mostly read about space heating and water heating, because those are the appliances that use the vast majority of gas in California homes, and stoves, because even though they use a small fraction of the energy of those other appliances, people have strong emotional attachments to their stoves. But clothes dryers, I don't know as much about.
Go back to the San Onofre question.
You can try. I don't think I'll have any insights.
So you're not involved. And my question is, why not? And what would it take
Oh,
to involve?
sorry, I skipped over the follow-up because I was like, no, we're not. I don't have any other insights. I don't. Well, so you can always for San Onofre or anything else, you can always come to Earthjustice and request legal assistance with a project, or suggest that we take a case. And then what we would look for would generally be, you know, like, is there a legal hook? Is there a way for lawyers to help? And if so, are there already other lawyers covering it? And because I'm not aware of us having looked at this before, I don't know if this is the type of issue where lawyers could have an impact. So as much, you know, information as you might have about relevant laws where there might be a violation, or upcoming regulatory decisions, any like decision juncture to kind of organize our engagement around, would be helpful, because at this point, I don't know. Just because I don't know anything doesn't mean like there could be someone else who's already looked at this and thought about it. But
So do you have, I have a question I didn't write in the chat. Do you have a rapid response network that when something is in front of the Utilities Commission, that you think it would be helpful for people to contact their people on the commission, that you send out alerts to people to try to activate citizen responses?
we do have action alerts sometimes, which will sometimes send out over Twitter, and also if you subscribe to the email newsletters, you'd also see the action alerts that tend to be like, you know, there's some upcoming decision on something, click here to put your name on it.
Nancy sent me the link to the newsletter, which I could put on here. earthjustice.org/newsletter, I think is what it is.
Very good. How are you funded? So the biggest sources of funding that we rely on are foundations and major gifts. So philanthropy from large donors. We also rely on small donors. We also rely on the attorney's fees that we get when we win cases. Not always, but in some venues, when you prevail under some laws, you're able to petition for attorney's fees to cover the cost of that litigation. So that's helpful as well.
Any other questions from anyone? It looks like we that Joy found the link to the newsletter. So it's in the chat there. It's earthjustice.org/newsletter. And again, that'll give a good idea of what's going on nationally as well.
and give everybody a chance to donate to them.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions before we wrap it up here?
Yeah. Am I muted? I'm not sure.
No, you're not muted.
No, I am. Back to the Dakota Access Pipeline. What is the status of that? It always feels like it's almost dead, but then it comes back to life.
Yeah, so this isn't my case, so I can't speak too much to the specifics, but my understanding is that under our most recent victory, we were able to convince the court that, in fact, the permit that the Army Corps of Engineers had issued for the pipeline was defective. So the pipeline is operating without a permit, essentially. And so then it kicks the key decision back to the federal government, to now the Biden administration, to determine what they want to do about this problem. Do they want to do what the Trump administration would probably do, which is like go back to the drawing board and just like figure out how to fix the permit and permit the thing and just like get the oil flowing? Or are they going to respond to the huge outpouring from the Native community and its allies to actually revisit the decision and say, like, no, we're not granting you this permit? So it's a really good example of the way legal advocacy can sometimes be married to activism, because without the activism and the huge national attention that this pipeline has received, it's not very likely that even after a legal victory, you would have a durable win and convince the administration to actually change its mind after having a court agree about a legal problem like that.
I think this just came in from Nancy. Is there cooperative relationship with former AG within Newsom's administration?
So, Attorney General Becerra has been very strong on environmental justice. I believe he is the one who started, and if he didn't start it, he expanded an environmental justice unit within the AG's office. And we've actually worked with them on a couple of cases. Just a few weeks ago, there was an argument at the Ninth Circuit where we were representing a coalition of environmental groups and community groups fighting an expansion at the San Bernardino airport that is intended to allow Amazon to move a lot more cargo from the LA ports, and was permitted with an inadequate review of all the environmental impacts on the local community. The Attorney General's office intervened in that case in support of our clients' positions. And there's a deputy attorney general arguing that case right up there with Earthjustice, which, really, really helps with the credibility and the type of weight your arguments are going to get. So yeah, it's been great to see that from Becerra.
I was wondering if either Cody or Jamie had a question. They haven't been to our meetings for a while. You guys have anything to ask or chime in on?
Talking about me, Cody Peterson?
Yeah.
Oh, hi. It's a pleasure.
Hi,
No, this is
Cody.
wonderful. I'm glad to have been here.
What was that?
I'm glad to have joined you. This is really
Okay.
exciting.
Hey, congratulations on your new job.
I don't know if congratulations are in order, but it's definitely, we're doing God's work.
What can you tell us anything about the county? Do you know Sarah?
I don't actually.
Sarah, let me introduce you to Cody Peterson. He's has been president of the San Diego Democrats Environmental Club, and he recently just took a position as, I think, senior advisor for one of our new county supervisors, Tara Lawson Reamer.
Yeah, thank you, Joy. It's been a pleasure to work with all of you over the years, and especially with Joy. Yeah, this is really exciting. I'm also I'd love to talk more with you. I'm also teaching I'm lecturing at UCSD right now, a course called Politics for Environmental Change. So we actually have a lot of activists and elected officials coming in to start to be thinking through. Actually, on Thursday, the class is hosting Anili Sopoaga, who was the immediate past prime minister of Tuvalu, to talk about sort of his work at the COPs over the last decade. But it's really exciting. I mean, we doing policy now at the county. We have a regional sustainability plan and our climate advisory committee, and we've got an agenda item on 743 vehicle miles traveled, reorienting the county around OPR guidance. So, but we live and breathe at that crossroads between the movement and policy. And so it's really valuable to have this organization's been so consistent over the last several years. We just love the organizing you do. You always have great turnout. And any participation you want from our office or from me, just reach out. And if you have cool board letters, let us know. We'll work on it.
Hey, we'd love to have somebody come and talk to us about the latest version of the climate action plan. If you know,
yeah. So what we'll do is we've got a climate advisory committee, which will be meeting quarterly probably. And we will invite all of you. We can also send out representatives. I can come out and give a talk on the progress, or we can have Kelly Bray come out from the county. She's a real gem. We came on the county, and it's a huge culture shift for county staff. But definitely Kelly Bray was always there from the beginning. So it's really a wonderful thing to come into a space and find somebody who was a true believer from the very beginning, and she really has given us a head start. So Kelly Bray is wonderful. I'm sure she'd be eager to come out and talk about the CAP as well.
That'd be great. We'd love to have her. Yeah.
Anything you need, we consider ourselves allies, and we'd like to be champions for all of you on climate action. And yeah, we actually on next Wednesday, we have a board letter coming. You'll see it on the agenda for tomorrow. The agenda will come out tomorrow, but it's a board letter reorienting the county policy. The last board of supervisors just really was attempting to circumvent state law really in order to reduce the effectiveness of SB 743 and reducing vehicle miles traveled and creating carbon and sort of shifting away from carbon intensive land uses. And so if you guys want to take a look at that, you can talk to the folks that were litigants on that case against the county. And if you want to turn people out on Wednesday or put some e-comments in supporting our agenda item on 743, reforming our county's policy on 743, we'd love to have you do that.
Is that, you mean tomorrow or?
It's next Wednesday is when it'll come before the board. The agenda will be released tomorrow around 2, I think, 2 p.m.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you so much. This is wonderful. I mean, I enjoyed being here for this, and this is the kind of thing you need, this outside game to continually be shifting to Overton windows so that policymakers at all levels of government can be sort of moving with that shifting consensus in the community at large.
Okay, thanks, Cody. We'll be in touch. All right.
Thank you so much.
Anything else burning for anyone? Final questions, thoughts, outbursts? Okay, very good. Well, thanks everyone. And thank you, Sarah, very much. Round of applause for her. We
Thank you.
really appreciate it and all the great work that we know you're doing on the behalf of our climate.
It was great meeting you all.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks much.
Nice
Good night,
job.
everyone.